Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to respond to the response of dogs by way of advocating a proper process. And this is where you'll get, or I'll receive comments from people who say, well, Dale, after our first session, and again, I'm talking about dealing with dogs that are holding a lot of control, right? Well, Dale, after our first session, my dog really got like nasty in terms of during the week in between the next session with things that situations and objects and different things that the dog never acted that way before, like almost seeming like, you know, the dog's responding differently, you know, in a way that represents, you know, again, control. And that's the point, is understand, just like dealing with a child or a teenager that's already become very, very selfish, and you're stepping in, you're aligning with the right parenting style, okay, there's going to be conflict, okay, in terms of a process. But conflict in a way of, again, here's the difference when I talk about conflict, because this system of training is about how it makes sense to a dog, and the dog being agreeable, okay, within certain interactions, okay. So the issue about keeping it safe is the focal point, okay, based on the consistency of the process. But the issue about conflict within, say, when the dog is off leash, when, you know, the dog is like interacting with things like prior to, the dog did not, you know, act that way. The dog did not act overly possessive. Well, the point is that just like a child that knows that the parent's changing, okay, really think about this. This will be helpful, because in a way, it shows that you're doing it right, okay? Because here's the thing, sometimes we look at things and we say, things are actually getting worse. No, in reality, you're seeing the real deal. The dog's actually exposing their real motives with how they perceive not just you, but others in the environment they're in, okay, in terms of relationship. So dogs are amazing animals. Once they get a sense that you're starting to change how you think, you're starting to advocate the proper role, okay, they will overinvest, okay, they will become possessive of things that they were in control of before. Because here's the point, they didn't have to fight over or engage in conflict over that which they already had control over, okay. This goes into the issue about dogs looking balanced. This is why dogs can look very balanced in your home environment, and you may have an incredible problem on your hands, but you don't have a good sense of it. This is why when balance trainers or when force-free trainers step on the scene, understand what they're doing, okay? They're superficially focused. They're building a picture based on even a failure to understand just how bad things really are, because that's not really being exposed. And with some of these force-free trainers, it's not being exposed at all, okay? They're just aligning with the already, just like aligning with the already selfish child. And this is why, again, we talk about the issue about using motivators to elicit a response. So this is response focused. They're not looking at relationship. They're not looking at the motives that underpin the response. They're not looking at control, the context of how dogs can look balanced. They're not looking at any of that. They're just building a superficial picture. That's it. So again, this goes hand in hand with this issue about how things will change, okay? How dogs will get a little bit more desperate during the process because they know the real deal. But then that goes into this issue about, you know, when I start to increase the integrity of a structure, okay, in terms of how much you're using the crate, really start to kind of bring things more into focus. So there's some adjustments that need to be made, okay, as the process begins to take hold, to make sure that, you know, you're not going to have bad outcomes, okay? You're not going to have moments. So it's all about keeping it safe. The issue about these specific interactions, when they do line up, when you are engaging, they're all, the focus of them is the agreeableness of the dog, okay? The dog coming into agreement with them based on how influence is intercepting those interactions in a proactive way, staying ahead of the curve of the mind of the dog. Because the issue here is that, again, you see this, you don't want to you know, bring influence online when a dog is already at a tipping point. You know, when control is manifesting and the dog is really investing in expressing, okay, you have to be very, very aware, be very careful, okay, because your focus needs to be on making sure, okay, you're intercepting before it gets to that point, okay, just in the form of a nudging, okay. If you see how I'm using influence, I'm like nudging, I'm intercepting those states of mind in a way that's going to you're going to be a lot more successful because the dog is going to be more agreeable to them. But when you get this issue where dogs are holding a lot of control, this is where you actually get into this issue of, dogs will respond differently through the week, right? Be like a really selfish teenager that is going to he wants to go ballistic, right? Because he's like, hey, what's going on here? The parent is moving into a different agreement. It's like they already signed off on page 46. We agreed to this over X number of years. And what are they doing? So I'm gonna show them. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, all right? So it's really getting a sense of how things look. You can't trust appearances. You have to be able to provide revelation as to the real deal in terms of relationship. And you have to engage a process that is going to be effective in changing, the relationship in terms of, advocating properly. That's what I'm talking about. So again, I would encourage people to think about the context of what you see. Sometimes when you see dogs conflict coming to the surface, it actually is a good thing, in one way. Not that you want to deal with that, you want to make sure that things are lining up, but when you see a dog reacting to you a certain way, understand that's not exactly a bad thing. It's not about building a pretty superficial picture where a dog's holding control. This is about exposing the real issue. So when you see a level of conflict coming to the surface, it actually means that the relationship is changing. Based on, again, you want the agreeableness part where the dog's coming into agreement, in terms of advocating a proper role for the right reason. See, that's the difference. So understand, it's all about context. It's all about getting the process right. It's all about understanding or reconciling the reaction of a dog based on, a proper process. So it's really getting a proper foundation, that's going to give you feedback, it's going to give you information as to both where you're standing in the relationship currently and as the relationship moves forward in terms of fading in the right way. Thanks for watching.